All right, so this is going to be another movie review. This one's called 10 to Midnight. This is going to be another Karate Man recommendation. This is going to be another Canon J. Lee Thompson collaboration. Charles Bronson, a cop, a killer, a deadline, 10 to Midnight. Cool looking movie poster. Very nice. I love this flick. I'm giving it 5 out of 5 stars. Highly recommended. Check it out. 10 to Midnight is a 1983 U.S. neo-noir thriller film directed by J. Lee Thompson from a screenplay originally by William Roberts. The film stars Charles Bronson in the lead role with a supporting cast that includes Lisa Eilbacher, Andrew Stevens, Gene Davis, Geoffrey Lewis, and Wilford Brimley. 10 to Midnight was released by City Films, a subsidiary of Canon Films, to U.S. cinemas on March 11th, 1983. William Stacy is a young office equipment repairman who kills women when they reject his sexual advances. He's the nudist killer. His attempts at flirting are always seen as creepy by women, resulting in frequent rejections. Oh, kind of like my attempts over the years. One night, Stacy attends a showing of Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid at the theater, and he deliberately accosts the women sitting next to him so they will recall him. As the movie plays, he heads for the theater's bathroom, strips naked, puts on gloves, and he slips through the window. He tracks Betty, a coworker who had rejected his advances, down to a wooded area. And by the way, Betty shows off full frontal in this scene. There's a lot of nudity. A coworker who had rejected his advances down to a wooded area, and Warren Stacy, the nudist killer, observes her having sex with her boyfriend in the back of a van. He ambushes the couple, kills the boyfriend, and chases her into the forest, eventually catching up to her and stabbing her to death. This is the only instance where he killed a man. He's like the opposite of Jeffrey Dahmer. Afterwards, he returns to the theater and he exits with the other attendees, giving him a sound alibi. This guy's abusing the system. He's a card-carrying member of the ACLU. Better watch out for this guy. All right. Release date. Production companies, Canon Group and City Films, distributed by Canon Films. Release date, March 11th, 1983. Running time, 102 minutes. The ending is great. I love the ending. Budget of $4 million and a box office of $7 million. I think this was a few years before Canon filed bankruptcy. Detective Leo Kessler and his partner Paul McCann are investigating the murders. Kessler is a seasoned veteran of the force, while McCann is considerably younger. He starts hitting on Bronson's daughter. Meanwhile, Lori Kessler, Leo's daughter, and a nursing student, is struggling to reconcile her relationship with her father. Her father's too busy to pay any attention to her, but not for long, because the nudist killer is after Charles Bronson's daughter. Now we get to see some cool looking Charles Bronson revenge action. Stacy attends Betty's funeral. And Stacy hears her father mention to Kessler, a family friend, that Betty kept a diary about her encounters with other men. Fearing he might be mentioned in the diary, Stacy searches Betty's bedroom and her apartment, but he is interrupted when Karen Smalley, Betty's roommate and co-worker, returns from the funeral. Stacy stabs her to death in the kitchen, and he resumes searching for the diary only to find it missing. Kessler had already acquired it from Karen during his questioning. Oh, this time the police are one step ahead of the killer. Eventually, Stacy is formally arrested and charged. Kessler decides to plant evidence in order to frame Stacy and to put him away for good before he gets his daughter. When McCann discovers this, he confronts Kessler and he refuses to go along out of fear of committing perjury, as he had been called to the witness stand in the case. Kessler ultimately confesses to planting the evidence in court, resulting in the case against Stacy being dismissed and Kessler being fired from the force. This is not going to stop Kessler. Now a free man, Stacy taunts Kessler over the phone. Bad decision. But Kessler returns the favor by ransacking Stacy's apartment, taunting him over the phone in turn, and getting him fired from his office job. he put up the murder scene photos of the dead nude bodies at his office job. That evening, Kessler tails Stacy through the streets of LA. Kessler observes him picking up a prostitute and taking her to a seedy hotel. She takes off her clothes. She looks like Jamie Lee Curtis, the prostitute in Trading Places. However, when he arrives at the hotel, he finds the prostitute unconscious and Stacy gone. Realizing that he's going after Lori, he frantically calls her dorm at the nursing college where she stays to warn her and her roommates, but he is too late. Stacy breaks into the dorm. Stacy brutally murders Lori's 3 roommates while Lori hides from him. Lori does a good job of protecting herself. Well, why didn't she have a gun? That's the question I'd like to ask. Inquiring minds want to know. As Leo alerts McCann to Stacy's whereabouts, and they both head for the dorm, Lori manages to escape after wounding Stacy with a hot curling iron. There's a lot of blood and nudity in this movie. Pretty cool stuff. He chases her through the street fully nude. But the frontal shots of him running the street, you can't really see his dingling because it's kind of blacked out by the darkness. Anyways, if you'd like to see a 20-year-old man running around nude in the street, he's like a Jan Michael Vincent look-alike, running around nude with a knife in his hand and rubber gloves. This is your movie. I really didn't care to see his bung 50 times in this movie, but other than that and the plot hole of women who choose not to protect themselves with guns when they have killers chasing after them, this movie was great. So Stacy chases her through the street fully nude, but McCann and Leo manage to catch up to him, saving Lori. Stacy begins ranting about how he is insane and thus liable to be released after doing jail time. And then you've got the great surprise ending. Cool flick. Very well done. What did Joe Bob Briggs? What did Joe Bob Briggs say about Charles Bronson? Anyways, where was I? Oh, producer Pancho Kohner had made a number of films with Charles Bronson and J. Lee Thompson. They purchased the film rights to the 1978 novel The Evil That Men Do by R. Lance Hill. Canon Films chairman Menahem Golan wanted to market Bronson's next film project, and the adoption of the novel was going to be that project. But Kohner estimated the rights to the novel and the cost of the screenplay to be worth $200,000. Menahem refused to pay, and the deal fell through. However, Menahem still offered to market Bronson's next film project, just not based on that novel. He and Kohner had already arranged a visit to the Cannes Film Festival to promote The Evil That Men Do. He asked Kohner to come up with a new project and fresh title. And 10 to Midnight was the result of this brainstorm. At the festival, they promoted the project to potential buyers as a film featuring action, danger, and revenge. But at this point, they really had no script for the suggested film. Back in Los Angeles, they went in search of a story. A colleague of Kohner's, Lance Houle, suggested using the screenplay Bloody Sunday by William Roberts. They simply attached the already chosen title to the screenplay. The Evil That Men Do later ended up being financed by ITC Entertainment. The name of Killer Warren for Warren Stacy was based on Hollywood star Warren Beatty. Actor Gene Davis, who played Warren, said that the director, J. Lee Thompson, pretty much left him alone to form his own character, but told him, "We don't want the role to be sympathetic," presumably so as to make the ending have more impact. 2 scenes in the original script were eventually not shot, one with Warren interacting with a 10-year-old girl at the park, and another with Warren being hit on by a gay man. The original ending had Leo wrestle Warren down to the ground during their final confrontation, but Bronson refused to get up close and personal with the naked Davis. Hey, that's not part of my job description, man. The music for 10 to Midnight was composed by Canon Films mainstay Robert O. Raglan, and the film was recorded by cinematographer Adam Greenberg. The film also features actor Robert F. Lyons and actress Kelly Preston, listed as Kelly Palses in smaller roles. Heavy on violence, nudity, vulgar language, and sexual situations, 10 to Midnight drew scathing reviews from film critics, including a 0 stars rating from Roger Ebert of the Chicago Sun-Times, who wrote, "I admired Bronson's strong, simpler talent once. What is he doing garbage disposal like this? He's doing a Canon film. Duh." The film did receive positive feedback from others, such as Ebert's colleague Gene Siskel of the Chicago Tribune, and it was a moderate financial success, but not enough to keep Cannon going more than 3 years. The film had maintained a sizable cult following through home video releases and cable TV showings. The film was often heavily edited for television broadcasts, which displayed alternate scenes of Stacy and his victims in their underwear instead of being totally naked. On Rotten Tomatoes, the film holds an approval rating of a mediocre 40% based on 10 reviews with an average rating of 5.33 out of 10. On Metacritic, the film has a weighted average score of 12 out of 100 based on 6 critics indicating overwhelming dislike. What's wrong with Metacritic? What is wrong with these people? We do not rely on Metacritic for advice on what movies to watch on this channel. 10 to Midnight, 1983, rated R, 1 hour, 41 minutes. It gets a decent 6.3 out of 10 on IMDb. So once again, the critics rate this way lower than the IMDb users. 10,000 reviews. All right, an LAPD detective, his rookie partner on the trail of a psychopathic young man who was murdering young women. And of course, we know J. Lee Thompson as as the director of some other Bronson flicks, more like this: The Evil That Men Do, Murphy's Law, Kinjite, Forbidden Subjects, and Messenger of Death. The original script called for Leo Kessler to wrestle Warren and Stacy to the ground in their final confrontation, and Charles Bronson wasn't getting that up and close and personal with the naked man. After Leo gets fired for planting evidence, the department would have undoubtedly confiscated his gun. Leo Kessler, referring to a masturbatory device found in Warren's apartment. You know what this is for, Warren? It's for jacking off. Warren's killings are done with a nude, and television broadcasts these scenes have Warren with flesh-colored briefs. Later scenes in the movie have inconsistencies in the color of briefs he wears. The wearing of any clothing is inconsistent with his alibis throughout the movie as well. This was featured in Electric Boogaloo, the wild, untold story of Cannon films from 2014, which we have reviewed on this channel previously. All right. Here's a review from Witchfinder General 666. It's dated November 30th, 2006. Witchfinder General 666 gives it a 7 out of 10. A little bit lower rating. I'm giving it a 10 out of 10. The title of the review on IMDb is Forget What's Legal, Do What's Right. Could a tagline possibly sound more Bronson-like? J. Lee Thompson's 10 to Midnight of 1983, starring the great late Charlie, is a decent cop flick, not nearly one of the most memorable Bronson flicks, but still a pretty suspenseful little thriller with high entertain. All my fellow fans of everybody's favorite no-nonsense ass kicker. Warren Stacy, Gene Davis is a psychopathic serial killer who gets his kick by running around naked and stabbing his victims to death. He does not randomly select his victims, but he kills because he wants to get back at the women who have rebuffed his advances. He calls them on a payphone and he starts talking dirty. I thought I was bad when I was in my 30s, man. This guy is really bad. He doesn't know when to stop. Leo Kessler, Charles Bronson, is a tough and experienced cop who doesn't hesitate to use his orthodox methods to get justice done. When Kessler investigates the murders, he has to find out that the latest victim was a close friend of his daughter's, Lisa Elbacher, accompanied by his rookie colleague, Paul McCann. Andrew Stevens. Kessler soon finds out who the murderer is. Warren Stacy is quite smart, however, and he never leaves any evidence. Things quickly get personal between Kessler and Stacy. And Charlie B., he's probably not the guy you want to mess with. 10 to Midnight differs from the majority of the other cop versus serial killer thrillers, since the viewer knows from the very beginning who the killer is. Kind of reminded me of Dirty Harry ripoff. The movie focuses on the strife between Bronson and the serial killers, and it builds up suspense by focusing on the serial killer and his possible victims. Since Bronson has to use illegal methods in order to get justice done, forget what's legal, do what's right. The film is, of course, politically incorrect as hell, but isn't that exactly what we love about Charles Bronson? The man takes the law into his own hands, and he doesn't mind the bad guys getting hurt. If you don't like it, stop whining. Bronson is great, as always, and Gene Davis delivers a great performance as a serial killer, very wooden and therefore very creepy. Lisa Elbacher, who plays Bronson's daughter, is very, and Geoffrey Lewis is great as the killer's sleazy lawyer. Some folks complained about poor editing in this movie. I don't really see why. One of the things I didn't like was the fact that the killer was rather one-dimensional. 10 to Midnight may lack depth, but it is a suspenseful film. It is a suspenseful film, certainly no masterpiece, but nonetheless a decent thriller that Bronson fans should like. I recommend to watch this and having a beer doing so. All good reasons to watch. I don't understand the objections. It's got everything that you could hope for in a movie. It's got violence and sex and nudity and great ending. Perfect movie for a Saturday midday. Highly recommended. Check it out. Next up on my list is The Punisher, 2004, and then One Body Too Many, 1944, and Murphy's Law, 1986. So 2 more Karate Man reviews coming up. Probably get through The Punisher, and that's about it. Until next week. I'm going to take a little nappy poo and then try to wake up and watch The Punisher. Laters.